Happy anniversary to Mike and Lori. I
Hey,
can't
there you
believe you're
go.
on this podcast on tax day, which happens to be your anniversary. But thank you, brother, for coming on.
Holy,
Hey, there's Sandy.
holy shit!
Just as we're leaving. Perfect timing, Sandy.
Who
Hey,
invented the email
Sophie.
address?
So hey everybody, welcome back to Gettin 10-8. Glad y'all came back. If you were here last week, if you weren't here last week, glad you're with us now. And look, let me tell you something. If you hadn't looked at last week's episode, go back and take a look because we're pretty much starting where we left off on the last one. Last episode, we were having some issues with folks being able to hear us and getting dropped out. And I had to chop everything up in editing to get it where we could put that episode out. But we're going to go through and try to pick up where we left off. With me over here to the other side, this way, no, that way, is Mike Pontius. He's a paramedic that I worked with down on the coast for years. And down there is, up right there, is Bud McMahon, who is battalion chief at Hattiesburg Fire Department that's retired. Mike doesn't work on the truck anymore. I don't work on the truck anymore. We're the old school dudes. So we're here and we kind of talk about the way it was when we were. That's where we kind of left off. And the last thing I heard that got all chopped up was, Mike, you had asked Bud when he was spending all that time at the firehouse, had he considered becoming a medic?
Yep.
And Bud, you got chopped off. I want to hear that answer where you had started. You got your EMT basic.
Yeah, I went to and got the EMT basic, and I can't say that the paramedic wasn't a draw to me, but I did not want to leave Hattiesburg Fire Department, and that was not an option there.
Yeah.
There was no spot for a paramedic there. I could have went down the paramedic road and did my day off work, with an ambulance somewhere, agency somewhere, but I chose something else for my day off. But yes, it was a draw, and the only thing I could do with the Hattiesburg Fire Department was an EMT basic, and that's where I went down that route. And by doing that, it pretty much secured me a spot on the rescue unit, which was my passion.
Right. Now, you talk about EMT basic. Back when we did all this, you were probably an EMT basic. In last episode, I talked about I was an EMT basic before I went to paramedic. I wasn't. Neither was Mikey. Mike and I were both EMT ambulances, is what they used to be called.
Right.
And then
Right.
Mike talked about the intermediate. The intermediate's what they call now EMT advanced.
Right.
And then you had EMT paramedic. Right. So that's the difference in the 80s to now. Now they got EMT.
Ambulance driver.
What's that?
The ambulance driver.
Yeah, the ambulance driver. Somebody always said, "You drive them ambulances?" I said, "No. Sometimes they let me change the oil and put gas in them too. I get to wash them every morning."
Mm-hmm. Ain't that the truth? Mm.
But Mike, you look like you are hugging Course the Fib.
Dude, I am hugging a pillow on my back porch. And
Okay.
if you're damn boring, I promise you it's a good pillow.
So we updated since the last episode. We updated our background because our background was kind of cheesy compared to Bud's. There, Bud's looks pretty
Bud's on
cool.
fire, man.
But then we upgraded. We got a Star Life that's got a border around it now, and if you look, it kind of looks like an EKG strip. And I got to paying attention to this, and I said, well, we went from coarse V-fib to a sinus rhythm, but then I got to really looking, and I said, you know,
in it right there.
do what now?
Got that notch on that QRS right there too. What is that right there? Q?
Yep. But take a look at this. The P waves aren't uniform, and the PR interval's different. So that is a sinus beat, and then it's a PAC. I figured it out.
Yeah. I didn't even look at that till you said that, Rob. So I just
there's that old lead 2 paramedic coming out in us. The old Life Pack 5 toting paramedic.
now we had a 100 at AmServe when I started.
Before the Life Pack 5.
Life Pack 100 was, I think that's what it was called. It kind of was like a Life Pack 10 on, it was like 12 inches tall. I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah. I like
the Life Pack 5.
Yeah, Life Pack 5 is what I started with in, let's see, that was
in the monitor.
Yeah, it had the defibrillator and the monitor. You could unhook the defibrillator and just carry the monitor. If you were an idiot, or if you wanted it lighter, because I knew just as soon as I unhooked that defibrillator, that's when I'd need it. So I always kept them together.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
So one of the things, we've all made calls, and I wanted to ask this, and whichever one wants to jump in first, the other one will wait until their turn. What is the one call that went completely sideways when you were on it, but in the end, it turned out not that serious and being actually kind of funny?
Bud, let me have this one.
All right, go for it.
Have this, Bud.
Go ahead, brother. You can have it.
Ocean Fairley Road. It was about 10 o'clock at night. Social Fairley Road's a windy, up in the country, up off of Highway 50. MVA versus a cow.
All right.
That's how it came in. Let's go. Can't remember my partner. I was a medic. We get there. It's like a little Nissan Sentra, little bitty 4-door car. Upside down in the ditch. It wasn't a cow. It was a 16-hand freaking horse.
Ooh.
He hit this sumbitch, flipped the car upside down. The horse, up to his shoulders, his head is in the car, in the back window of the car, slinging his head around like he's, I mean, you can just imagine the snot flying.
Oh, yeah.
A gun, or I'd have took care of business. I don't know if that would have been social fire. I can't remember the fire department. The doors are jammed. Dude can't get out. He is going ballistic. This horse is slinging snot everywhere inside the car. The car's upside down. We're the first ones on the scene. MHP or Harrison County shows up. I'm trying my little window punch, that little thing that we carried in our pouch.
Yeah, the spring-loaded center punch.
Yeah.
So about that time, social rescue shows up, and I'm going to call it the wrong thing. They getting the jaws out. They getting this out. And this dude walks over there with this freaking long tool with a point on the end of it and a pry bar. Halligan tool. He's sitting there trying to pry the door open. I reached up and I grabbed that tool from that dude. I took that pointy end. Boom! Knocked it out the passenger side front window.
That's right. Bust that glass.
come on out. Well, I told her, I said, come on out. He crawls out of there like a scalded ape, man. He is pissed. He's actually screaming and running. Ain't nothing wrong with him. Wrong with him.
He was just trapped.
He just needed to get out.
With a horse that wasn't dead, slinging snot in his head. It pitch black night, upside down in his car on the side of Social Fairley Road.
He was ready to go.
Freaking out.
We get him out the car. Bill, somebody from Harrison County, shot the horse. Bill, he was a Harrison County deputy. As soon as we got the dude out.
Save his last name, even if you know it.
It don't matter. Right. Shot the horse. And we couldn't do it while the dude was in there.
Yeah.
Dude, they still trying to crank the jaws up. Vroom, 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 vroom. He's out, bro. We good. So
I could probably put a brand name on them rescue tools that didn't crank.
Oh yeah, the quarter power was not cranking. So I don't think it was called Hearst at the time. It was a rudimentary hydraulic leaking non-crank.
Mm-hmm.
They got a Temu Jaws of Life.
Yeah, Temu Jaws of Life. That was the predecessor to anyway. So we took the dude to the hospital. He had a couple cuts, and he may have had a little broke arm or something. The broke arm probably didn't have nothing to do with the wreck. Broke arm was probably the horse slinging around at him.
Yeah, beating him.
You ever seen them motorcycles go around in the balls at the fair?
Oh yeah.
That's what this dude was doing inside of this car.
Mm.
None of the doors was open. He's trying to kick the windows out. So when the dude shows, I grabbed that tool and I knocked the shit out that window. He comes out the car and the dude's pissed off at me. So the next morning, we're going to shit.
Oh, he didn't want you to break his window of his upside down.
The fireman, I imagine.
The fireman didn't want me to break
That's
it.
right.
They was trying to crank the jaws up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It
So-
cost him a chance to pop a door.
I don't give two craps about that. Happened. So the next morning, we at Station 1. We was in Orange Grove, getting the Suburban. The shuttle service picked us up, take us back to Gulfport. I get there, and in my best imitation of Steve, like Paulus, come to Unit 1's office. Oh, shit.
The Bhagwan has called you in.
That man, right. He says, are you a fireman? Nope. He says, are you trained in extrication? I'm like, nope. He says, did you interfere with the extrication of a patient on an MVA last night? I says, nope. He says, did you take a tool from a fireman and perform an extrication maneuver? I says, nope.
Just
Broke a window.
I said, I just busted the window out with a tool that a fireman happened to have that looked like it might work.
That's right. And he wasn't doing nothing with it. Wasn't
Chief
making no advancement with it.
called him during the night.
Mm-mm.
Everyone knew who that arrogant was that busted the window out.
Mm.
And so I had to go through what we just went through. So that is my greatest fire call ever. That they were so tunnel vision on using the freaking jaws and using the proper tools, they couldn't see the forest for all the trees. And it took me 2 seconds.
It happens.
He's
It
out.
happens.
There we go. All right. Next.
It happens.
Little common sense works every dang time.
It does. It for sure
Tell
does.
me that, man. I promise you.
It for sure does. Mm.
Go ahead,
All right,
bud.
Man, I don't know. I can't really. Most of mine.
Well, you told me about saving a baby.
Yeah, I mean, we had that one. We actually saved one and lost its sister.
No.
You talking about the one now that?
The
Hide the
woman
plane
telling you
and-
go in the house and get my baby.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. We pulled up on the fire scene that night, and there's a house trailer on fire, and it was breathing. If you know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
You know, like fixing a backdraft on it. And I could see it breathing, and ladies out there hollering, "Oh, my baby's inside." Blah, blah. So we grabbed the line, bled the line off. Now I'm an old scoop guy. I like an adjustable nozzle. They can fight fire with the straight bore if they want to. but I'll take an adjustable nozzle because I can go straight.
Fog.
I can go power cone, or I can use a fog if I need it to. But at this
Wring the
time,
neck.
this time I bled it off and set me not a full fog, but 3/4 fog. Cracked that door. I didn't have time to vent. It was a house, so I threw me some water in there with it. Went in there. Anyway, we get in there searching for a baby and come across a grown man. We grab and we do a grab and get him outside. Start CPR on him. We've lost him, in the house, and we get outside and started CPR on him. And I had one of my guys. I said, "Go check with the mama and see if there's a baby, where the baby is." Anyway, it was a 35-year-old baby, and we did save him. We did CPR, got him back. Everything worked out, but it was kind of funny there for a minute. It wasn't, but it was. And you run across this grown man laying down, and you're looking for a child. And yeah.
That
Then I had
reminds
that.
me of
No, go ahead. We had one
that.
hit a tree one time, and the little girl was, and she was I don't know 3 years old, maybe 4, 3 years old, and we all remember that old purple dinosaur that used to be on TV back years ago.
Barney.
Yeah, old Barney. Well,
Yep.
my boys, they was big Barney fans back then, so I knew the little Barney song by heart. This little girl she'd be unconscious, passed out in the car seat, and I had her stabilized in her car seat, and I strapped her in the ambulance unit, and I'm riding, and she would wake up screaming, and I'd start singing the Barney song to her, and she'd quiet down and look at me and listen to it, and then she'd pass out again. But she wound up living, but her 5-year-old sister didn't.
Oh,
But
Oh
yeah,
Lord.
I'm
yeah.
a fire.
We coded
Now
her, the 5-year-old. She was coded when we got there. We got her back. We got a heart rate back on her. Got her on the backboard. Right as we laid her in the helicopter where Beverly was, she coded again. And when Beverly left on the copter, they was working her, and they didn't get her back. But
that
but
that
it's just
that brings up something because I can tell you as a paramedic, the toughest calls, the ones that I remember, and I'm sure Mike's gonna say the same thing.
We were going to
Were
say funniest calls, Robbie. We ain't doing toughest calls.
well, he just took us through a tough call, dude.
But one of them lived, then he sang Barney. So
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
But
yeah,
kids were a tough deal for me.
I
They
hate
were.
You know,
They were.
if I lost a kid, that really
Yeah.
hurt me
Yeah.
to my core.
Yeah.
So, and back in the '80s, there wasn't a let's do a critic stress debrief and see how you're doing. There was, hey,
Right.
you got another call to get 10-8 on as soon as you
Exactly.
clear that
but
scene.
get 'em.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you're
And
sitting outside on the front porch thinking about the call you just left, and when them old hands walk by, what are you doing? Can you not handle this? You can't handle
Yeah.
it. Get in your truck, go home.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
absolutely. Man up, rub some dirt in it, go
Well,
on to the next call.
I can't say I wasn't guilty of that on a couple. I got guys. I had one of my guys sitting on the tailboard of the truck. We down in a creek trying to get guys out, and all the guys is down in there working their tails off, and this cat's sitting on the tailboard of the truck. So I went up there and getting something. I said, "What is your problem?" He said, "Man, I can't handle that. I can't handle that." So when we got back to the firehouse, we had a little discussion on the tailboard again, and explained to him, "Look, this is what you come to work for. If you can't come here, you need to find you another profession, because number one, you're not taking care of the patient, which is the priority. Number two, you're not backing up your brother firefighters and medics." I said, "We're a team. When one link is in this team, when this chain is weak, the whole chain's weak.
Yep.
So you need to man up or get out."
Yeah.
So
Now, how long were you on rescue trucks, bud?
about 18 years out of my 25 at Hattiesburg. Yep.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, dude.
I loved it. I loved it.
That's awesome.
Now,
And,
how did it take you into the battalion chief? Because chief, you've got the ladder truck, you've got the pumper
Yeah.
trucks,
Yeah.
you've got the rescue, you've got everything at that station, huh?
Well, the whole city. A battalion chief's over the entire city, every unit in the city. And then
So
you got
so every station.
every station. Yeah, he is in charge of every guy, every third shift. And but it's a little personal stuff that I would have been perfectly happy staying on the rescue unit, But then we had some people about to promote over me that I didn't want making decisions for me. So I said, okay, I
Ah.
can't sit on my hands here and
So
let
you went up
somebody
for the
get up
promotion
into
board.
I said, I can't let somebody get in, an incompetent person get, and I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm nowhere close to the best. I'm only as good as them old captains and battalion chiefs just taught and shared their knowledge with me. That's the only reason I know what I know today is them. Nothing that I've done on my own, but I give them full credit what little what I do know. But the ones that was about to get up there was actually not going to be making very wise and safe decisions for my brother firefighters. So I was in a position to where I could promote and at least, try to do the right thing. So that's what inspired me to advance to the battalion chief level.
There you go. Now, how long were you in that position before you pulled your retirement?
5 years, four,
So
four or
you got
five
your
years. Yeah.
you got your 4 high.
Well, I did. Yeah, I did, and I'd have probably still been there, but it just, I don't know. I don't play political games very well, so I eased on out,
I
and
understand.
so
You got too
I
much of
hated to
that
leave
Oak
my
Grove
guys.
in you there, bud.
I'm sorry.
You got too much of that Oak Grove in you.
I do now. I do,
You
and
will
that
stay.
mountain pond blood running in me don't let a lot of that go by.
That's
You
right.
know,
You'll stand
that
flat footed on the ground and tell them exactly what you think.
that Irish blood flowing through them veins is got ain't got much backup in it. But anyway, I hate to leave my guys, but I had some guys that come up there and they were starting to get into positions that they could step into it, and they're very, very confident. And so, I mean, as far as leaving, I knew it was in good hands, and boys do a better job than could do. So I had spent my time there and had
Well,
a
that's
great
because
time.
you built them up.
Well,
You're
we worked a good team. I had very good guys that worked, and we shared knowledge with each other. My motto was, is if you come to work today and you're not willing to learn something, please do us all a favor and go home, because everybody needs to try to learn, have an open mind, and learn from each other. The chiefs can learn from the rookies, and the rookies can learn from the captains, and everybody can learn from each other. And if you're not willing to do that, you don't need to be on duty today.
that's right.
So, but
Look, I'm gonna tell you something. Just from had a lot of experience interaction, fire department, and when I say fire department, I'm talking about from the volunteer services in the north part of the county to the Gulfport fires, to the Long Beach fires, to the Pastor's Jam fires, to the Bay St. Louis, to the Wavelands, to the Ocean Springs, to the Biloxi. Dude, I have seen some good chiefs. I've seen some good battalion chiefs. I have seen some good engineers, some good drive. I think it all starts with the person right here who wants to do the job, and he's going
100%.
to spread it up the chain. Like you said, there ain't a chief out there that knows everything. There ain't a freaking battalion chief that knows everything. There
No,
ain't an engineer that knows. He was promoted to engineer.
exactly,
And
exactly.
so when you think just because hey you got an engineer, somebody was talking about my son the other day. 3 years at the department. He's a firefighter 3. He's a driver engineer. He's a paramedic, extrications, confined space, hazmat. He's got all this. Does that make him better than anybody?
Nope,
No. But does somebody 3 years in having that knowledge,
not yet.
but
Not
does
yet.
it mean something that he wants to learn and be able to carry it forward? Yes. It
Yep.
ain't some seniority. Well, I done heard so much about seniority in my career in EMS. I don't care if you've been there 1 year or 52 years.
Yeah.
Are
Right.
you good at what you do?
Exactly
And
right.
here's another thing. That guy that's been there 52 years, he may be set in his ways.
Right.
And he may be
Closed
doing
minded.
it he's doing it the way he's always done it. And you got to look out for that. You
Right.
know, you need to grow with the technology that's coming up around you. We
Right.
kind of touched on the difference in the technology from when I was on the truck to what they're doing now that kind of blew my mind. Just the amount of information that they can get. Now, one thing I don't know, and you said Grayson got his paramedic, didn't you, Mike? All right, so here's my question, Mike. Are they still teaching EKG interpretation, or are they just letting the machine do all the interpreting for them?
Well, You don't have to have calipers or dividers. They don't teach them how to turn the paper upside, fold it in half, and measure the blocks. They do teach them to look at PVCs, multifocal PVCs, bigeminies, trigeminies, irregular heartbeats, V-fib. They do teach them that. But as far as looking at a freaking and 3-lead EKG and trying to see what they have, I mean, why would you? So modern technology has advanced the ability to. It's like an infrared camera in the fire department. You know,
Mm-hmm.
have to go search for somebody. If the camera says ain't nobody there, there ain't nobody there.
Right.
Look
Right.
who's coming in.
You know, if it says the shit's okay, then the shit's okay. But you still treat the patient.
Right.
Yep.
At the end of the day, you still gonna put the fire out, whether it says there's a body in there or not.
Right.
I think it may make the job a little bit easier. I don't think it makes the paramedics any dumber, and I don't think infrared and LiDAR, radar shit makes the fireman any stupider.
Right. Right.
But technology has its.
It's just a good tool that if you utilize it, it'll be a benefit to what you're trying to do. I mean, if for instance you was using the infrared, or the thermal cameras, there's so many uses for them on a fire scene versus just hunting a body inside the fire. I lost everything except. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you're back. But you can utilize that thermal camera for a lot of things.
I mean, from fires to bodies to animals to
On the wreck,
to gas leak to water leak, whatever.
we had a body missing out of a car, and it was ejected down into a ravine, and we was trying to find it with that. But there's all things, a lot of things you can utilize that thermal camera for.
I was trying to tie it into what Rob was talking about EKG and do they teach them that? Yeah, they teach them that. But at the end of the day, you got to trust the equipment. It's like flying a plane. Does a weather radar say there's a thunderstorm ahead of you? Yes or no?
Right.
Say you're upside down or right side up.
That goes back to what I was saying a while ago. If you're not willing to learn when you come to work, it's time to get out.
No, you waste time.
Exactly. And costing lives. I mean, even we saved a lot of lives, but how many more lives could we have saved if we'd have had the technology that the guys have today?
Right.
Let me say here, Robbie, hold on. So you said last week, paramedic extraordinaire.
That was Sandi that said that.
That was me.
It doesn't matter. My point to this is I don't brag. What's Kid Rock say? It ain't bragging if you back it up. All right.
If you can do it, yeah.
I can tell you that from 1988 till 2006, I'm trying to think if I did it after Katrina. Maybe not. I missed exactly one intubation.
Really?
In all that time.
That's awesome.
Wow.
It
was good.
6-year-old little girl, block east of Hancock Medical Center, crossing Highway 90, hit by a car. Hold on the side of the road. I'm there. Dr. Striblin shows up. I'm trying to intubate her. She's got rocks and shit in her throat. I can't get them. I'm using forceps to grab the rocks out. Still can't get. She's got some throat trauma. Lacano shows up, the anesthesiologist. He can't intubate her. Get his truck and go. So, it ain't bragging, but when you talk about what people have done over their career, everybody's 80% on their IVs. Right. But I can tell you that I'm 99.99999%
on intubation.
And I don't know how many I did. I'm sure there's a number somewhere that I could probably try to find. But it goes to say that they've got these damn tubes you can shove up their ass, make a U-turn and go into their larynx so you can ventilate them. I'm not saying they got fiber optic video scopes now. I mean, technology has changed patient care, and the outcomes reflect that. We've got better survivals. We've got stroke damage deficit reduction. We've got cardiac function restorability. There's so much we can do with the technology these paramedics have today.
That's right.
But to say that someone's a good paramedic, I don't know what the metrics are anymore. Or a good fireman. I mean, houses don't burn like they used to because all our fault circuits. We got walls. We got non-combustibles. We got this type of insulation. We got this type of window. We don't use black insulation board out. So I don't know what makes you a good fireman. I don't know what makes you a good paramedic anymore. And I know that's a sad reflection on the state, but people don't die as much. Houses don't burn as much. I wish our Leo guy was on here because we sure as hell need to shoot more people. But beyond just us talking, I don't know what makes you a good fireman. Are you a good paramedic, Bob?
My big deal was I tell the guys, look, we're paid to take calculated risk. You got to take calculated risk. Now, I've had people ask, was you scared? I mean, I was less than 2 minutes coming out of a grocery store fire where the whole roof collapsed where I was at. And, I could hear it. I could tell it. And I come out, told the captain at the time, it was a young fire. I said, look, I just come out of smoke diver school. I said, it ain't right in there. He said, man, I wouldn't send you in if I didn't feel good. I said, okay, I'm back in there. I go. Anyway, and I come out anyway, it collapsed. And I had a couple other instances, and I had people ask me, do you get scared? I said, well, no, I'm not. Well, how do you not? I said, well, here's the deal. I'm a very religious man, and God is the only reason I made it where I am in my life today. And I know where I'm going when I die. I said, I ain't scared to die. So that allows me to do stuff and go in places that if someone is scared to die and where they're going to be, go after they die, that would shy away from it. And that's what always led me into a place. I just never was scared to die. I don't want to die, but I ain't scared
trying to rush it up.
Go. That's right. Exactly. But anyway, that's why I always look at it. Yeah, was I kind of nervous in a couple of places? Yeah, boy, yeah. We was Hattiesburg paint decorating when it burnt. Man, and a couple of my guys was first one in the door in that fire, and I did business there, so I knew where the fire was. It was in the mineral spirits room, and I knew if we didn't get it out, it's fitting to get real. And but it's just different things. But I was always blessed, though. I had really good team members with me, and I always had the ones when I came on wasn't scared, and they always kept you calm. When you was a young fireman going in, and taught you what to look for. And of course, I tried to pass that along when I went on through, and so just cover each other's back. I had a lot of good guys.
How many people you put under your arm and take care of and nurture them and mentor them?
We had quite a few, coming through the years, and the thing of what you like to really see is them guys become successful in their career. A lot of the guys that came on as just rookies and came on my shift now as lieutenants and captains, and I got a couple of them battalion chiefs right now, and and some about to make battalion chief or take testing for it. That's what makes you feel like, my whole career was successful. These guys came along, not taking no credit on myself from them, because if they didn't have the drive and the professionalism and that they have, they wouldn't have advanced it. But I like to say I got a little part of that, and if they can learn one little thing coming through, with me that might save somebody else's life or their life or one of our brother firemen, lives, my career was successful.
Yeah. Robbie,
all right,
you can relate to this, and we're gonna let you talk in a minute, but you just have to listen because you're the host right now. So Ricky Fayard, man, you know what we need to do, Rob? You need to start tagging the people that we mentioned in the show. Rick Fayard, paramedic, mobile medic. Rick, he was a merchant seaman. He
Yep.
was a paramedic, but he was known for his Fayardisms. But that's not the point of my point. The point of my point is, you ever heard the dude that bought the boots that had the crack in his Tony Llamas?
No.
Mm-mm.
You never heard that joke?
Uh-uh.
Nah. He goes
Well, let's
to a
hear it.
He goes to a bar. He saved and saved and saved. He got these Tony Llamas. He went home shining things up, son. He could see his face in it. They was shiny. He had some ropers, big old round toe on. It wasn't a square toe thing. He was at this bar one night, and he told this little girl, he says, you know what? But I can tell you what color panties you got on. She says, huh? Your granddaughter right there.
I'm sending her out the room right now. Go. I'm going. She goes, I said, go. I said, this is a fire hall tale. I can tell it coming. She's gone now. Go ahead.
She says, no way. She said, yeah, you got green. He does this like 4 women. He goes up to this next one. I'm going to get to the point of the story. He goes up to this next one. So, but I can tell you what color panties you got on. She says, no way. He looks. She says, well, you going to tell me? He says, having a little trouble figuring out what color panties you got on. She says, that's because I ain't got no panties on. He says, for a minute there, I thought I had a crack in my Tony Llamas. The point of this story is Rick Fayard showed up every day with his Justin Ropers.
Oh, yeah.
To a mirror sheen. Yeah. And in the supervisor's office in the bottom drawer, if he was supervising when you worked that day, you walked in with your shit untucked. Tuck it in.
Yeah.
If you didn't have a belt, see you later. Go home. You late for work.
Exactly right.
But if your boots wasn't shined, your truck didn't leave. You didn't get on your truck to check it out until you shined your Tony Llamas.
Yep. It ain't that way no more, brother. In the fire service anyway.
But I see it. And it is, I don't care if you're fat. I don't care if you live in a trailer.
That's right.
You shit up in your front yard, tuck your shirt in, shine your boots.
That's right.
Put your hair up, button your collar up.
Keep that gig line straight.
Yeah.
Because you're going to save somebody's life or put their fire out.
That's right.
You're not throwing a trash can. And God respects garbage men.
Oh, absolutely.
But you're not throwing trash cans in the back of a green truck going down the road.
Yep.
You don't necessarily have to have your arm, but you need to look professional.
You need to look professional.
Professional decorum is
not only for the patient and the patient's family when you show up to look professional, but for your own mindset, because you will be more professional when you feel more professional.
Now, and I was the same way. I wore those Justin Ropers, as did Scotty Sauls and all these guys. We were all wearing the Ropers, and it was who he won't come on. He won't come on. And I was like, it was a competition. Who could get those boots to look like patent leather?
Shine.
Yeah, I mean, I would take lighters to that. I'd put that kiwi on there and buff it out, and then take lighters. Absolutely. Yeah, there wasn't anything we didn't do trying to get up on there.
No, Fayard had us laying our belts on the counter, like our 2-inch wide service belt.
Yeah.
Now, he wore a Velcro wraparound that held off. I wore my regular belt through the loop. We'd put it on the
desk. Wore a duty belt?
Huh?
He wore a duty belt?
Yeah, he had a duty belt.
Wow.
Yeah. I wore a regular belt.
I wore a regular belt. I didn't wear a duty belt. I didn't have a weapon to put on the side of it. They wouldn't let me wear one.
He had his anopheline on there. Rick Fayard, we love you, baby. But what you were saying is, and I asked you this about how many people you took under your arm and brought them up.
Right.
It is policemen. Let's leave Stone County and a few other places out of it, but policemen still have a sense. And Highway Patrol. Let's go to Mississippi Highway Patrol. These
Yeah.
some people are dressed right, hat tipped to the freaking thing.
Yep.
Boots
No
tied.
doubt.
They
They
are.
look like a DI.
They are straight up.
They got it all right.
And they ain't deviated in 40 years.
Right.
That's their uniform.
And they get their ass busted. But I wonder somewhere along the way, I can remember when we started. You remember the jumpsuit Robbie at Mobile Medic?
No.
You were gone before we wore jumpsuit. We wore all rig worker jumpsuits at night. Employee Relations Committee.
No, we would open our belt and drop our pants over those Justin Ropers and pull out to go to bed, and it was just like the firehouse.
That's right.
Turnout gear. You ready to go? You slip in
Yeah.
and go.
Yeah.
Stack your pants on your boots.
Yeah.
And hang your shirt on the foot of your bed, on that post at the foot of your bed. You hang your shirt where you can jump in it and get.
Yep.
You're running out to the truck, firing it up, going 10-8, button your buttons up, and waiting on your partner to get in, and then you're gone as soon as they hit their seat.
Yep.
Give me your funniest EMS story.
Whew.
I tell you, I was going to make you be a participant.
Well, I actually went to a call that was a vehicle struck a cow. It wasn't a horse. In South Louisiana, they cattle could free range, and in between the levee of the river and everything, they'd go up and down there and they'd eat great. And there's a highway running through by Lutcher, and sure enough, about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, we get a call out. Go over there, and this vehicle has plowed into a cow that killed that cow, and it went into another cow, broke, knocked it over, broke its legs. And the guy that was driving the truck was fine. He signed a refusal, didn't want to go into the hospital by ambulance. And my smart ass got on the radio and told him, I said, we got 3 patients. One human has signed a refusal. I got 1 bovine that is deceased, and I got 1 refusing to sign a release. And dispatch had no sense of humor that night when I told them that.
I'm sure they did.
I'm going to send you the 3 out.
I ended up getting a write-up for telling dispatch that that cow wouldn't sign a release. That was pretty funny.
Well, I had a bunch of cars hit cows and deer and horses, but I ain't never had one in the car with them.
Yeah, that was a pretty unique story. Hey guys, look, I need to take a quick 2-minute break.
Perfect. Right
I'm gonna go pee and get me another couple of these beers, and I saw that Sandi had tried to come in and got out. Welcome back. We had our break. I had to go pee, as did Mike, I think.
Yeah.
I think we all took off and peed.
Well.
And we're all back. But look, let me tell y'all something. Tonight, our episode is pretty much a bunch of war stories. We got some funny stories. We got some, stories from back in the day. And the thumbnail, if y'all looked at it, that thumbnail that y'all clicked on to get here was an NBA scene from back in the 80s on the coast. And, you get in here and you take a look. If y'all have got stories that you want us to talk about, or if you've got a question you want to ask us, we're fancy now. We have our own email. And our email, I'm going to have it flash up. I'm going to do some magical editing, and it's going to be flashed up right here, is gettin108@gmail.com. That's gettin with no G.
Gettin.
IN 1010-8 at gmail.com. And you can send an email to us, and I'd love to hear some of y'all's stories. I'll read them out, and if y'all have got a question or want us to bat around and talk about that, I'll gladly do that. If y'all send us a email, we'll only use your first name unless you specify we can use your whole name. We'll keep your anonymity good to go. So,
Here, talk all we want.
what's that now?
We ain't got no anonymity here.
We don't. We don't. We got our names in the corner. People can find us. But if somebody wants to send an email, just, all I'll use is your first name. I won't even say where you're from. Oh, look. So, yeah, we had kind of talked about, I did that transition from working on the street and on the trucks to being an offshore paramedic. And when you went to be an offshore paramedic, one of the things that we had to do, because we spent most of our time out there
eating.
Well, we did. I puffed on up. People saw me years later and they're going, "Holy crap, Rob, what happened to you?" I said, "Hell, I'm twice the man I used to be." Literally. so no, we'd get out there, and most of the patients we were seeing, it wasn't like being on the truck. It wasn't an emergency. We were Dr. Mom. Mm. So we had to treat ear infections, tonsillitis, kidney stones, stuff that on the ambulance we didn't treat. So we had to go to an expanded scope of practice, paramedicine, remote medicine. Mm-hmm. So we had to learn how to do otic exams. We had to learn how to do ophthalmic exams. We had to learn, in our pharmacology, we had to go into antibiotics that you just don't have on an ambulance.
Right.
And, we'd have to look at this patient, take down all the information, assess them, and then we'd call our med control and say, "Look, this is what we've got." We'd tell them, "I got a tympanic membrane that's effused. It's got, it's got some, it's got fluid behind it. I can see bubbles behind it. The conal light's not in the right place." So they know that I've got an inner ear infection. And I'd have to say, "Look, this is what I want to do for a treatment. I want to give them this antibiotic at this dose for how long." And these doctors would grill the crap out of us. "Really? Why are you picking that antibiotic? Have you thought about this? Have you done the..." "Look, doc, you just tell me what you want me to give him and I'll do it, But no, we had some good doctors that made every patient a teaching moment. Those doctors, Mike and Bud, were taking us up under their arm. Yeah. Yeah. Like Mike was asking you, Bud, if you did that with the fireman that came up.
Right.
They wanted you to be thinking about all this and indications, contraindications for giving oral meds that we were given, 10-day regimens of an antibiotic. And heck, I got to tell you, for a while there on one facility I was at, I was pretty much a VD clinic. Because...
I was going to say, hold that story. All right. I'm gonna segue into that one. Finish your story.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna hold it, but yeah, I was a VD clinic for a while there, and you come across stuff that you don't come across on an ambulance, and that ends up having some funny stuff there, and eventually I've got some of the medics that I worked with out there offshore. Mike Jones, you'll be coming on here before much longer. You're getting your mention. So we will be having some of these guys that worked offshore and talk about the difference in working remote medicine out there and what we do on the ambulance here, and the different challenges that we had just because of the remote locations that we were at. Go ahead, Mikey.
So this is going to go from a funny into a serious. So just hold tight. And Bud, I apologize. I know we're going to talk more fire, but you're going to have to hear this war story. We'll listen to your war story.
No, it's all good.
Okay. So anyway, I started at a division at my prior employer. We started up
Yeah.
this company called EMS Offshore Safety and Medical Staffing.
Yep.
So we provided just what it sounds like. We provided safety and medical people to drilling rigs, pipe lays, or whatever. It didn't matter. And we also, as part of our line of business, we sold over-the-counter medicines, prescription medicines, etc. We brought telemedicine out there into to the near shore stuff. I mean, we weren't the big rigs like Robbie worked on, but we had it on some smaller stuff in the shallow water. And I kept noticing, damn, penicillin orders were non-stop.
And Rosefin.
Rocephin and penicillin every freaking hitch.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So our med control doc, Mike W. I'm like, Mike, what in the hell? I talked to Dr. Brian B. Doc, what the hell? He says, you put $5,000 in the 25-year-old boy's pocket. What's he gonna do when he's on dry land? He gonna hit the crack of dawn.
He's going to hit the crack anyway.
Later, that crack of dawn's gonna light his pecker up. And guess what? He's back at work.
Yeah.
So what's he doing? He's going to the medic. Hey,
Yep.
it hurts. All right, here you go. Take this. So you said treating VD. I promise you, Rob, that was our number one prescription medicine that I shipped to
Yep.
Rig.
I believe it.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
had
It
I
was-
had on let me tell you, on the first hitch I had to treat these guys. I had 3 guys. They were all from the same town, and they were all working the drill floor.
they
So
from
they were
Utah.
floor hands, and I all 3 of them were from the same town. I ain't saying what town. I ain't saying any names, but they come in and they've got the drips. They've got the painful urination. They have gonorrhea. So, I get up with the doctor, and so what we're going to do is we're going to give them a Rosefin injection, load them up with Rosefin, and it's
And
twice. It's
Okay.
twice the normal. You're giving twice the normal amount of Rosefin for VD. You're giving 1 in each ass cheek, and then you're going to give them a oral medication to take behind it. So the first time they came in, I felt bad for them, and I hooked them up. I gave them, when I drew up that Rosefin, because it's a powder. So I drew it up with 1% lidocaine and injected it back in there and shook it back up, drew that stuff up, changed the needle out where I had a good sharp needle where it wouldn't hurt as bad, popped it in there, gave it to them, said, now it's going to burn for a second. And it did. It burned for a second until that lidocaine kicked in, and then they felt, it was just numb. The next hitch, they came back, and I said, okay.
You ain't learned your lesson.
These same guys, same thing, all 3 of them. They're all buddies. And I'm like, all right, they ain't getting lidocaine this time. They're getting normal saline with that shit. So I mix it up with normal saline. I give it to them. They're like, oh, shit,
Yeah.
It felt like you shot. It felt like you shot a pumpkin ball in my ass. No, it's just welcome to an IM antibiotic. Stuff's kind of thick, ain't it? So
Keep the barn door closed, son.
so they go home. I said, well, surely they're gonna figure this out. The third hitch, they come back, same
Wow.
3 guys. I'm like, holy shit. So now I'm like driving that needle through that damn rubber stopper about 15 times, dulling it up good. And finally I told them, I said, look, y'all got to be hitting the same gal. Y'all got to find another gal to go see.
Yeah.
I said, preferably 3 separate gals, and y'all need to be looking at a different hunting ground.
They getting gas at the come and go.
So, yeah, that would be a lot funnier to me if it weren't a true story, but unfortunately it was.
Not only is it a true story, it is a fact. I'm telling you, I talked to Jody A at SMS. I've talked to people at SO. I've talked to freaking safety people and docs
Yeah.
across the freaking country, and they know that 3 or 4 days into every new hitch,
Yep.
they're gonna have freaking fire breathing dragons coming to see them and saying it hurts.
Yeah. Because it
Period.
does.
Hey, Robbie,
Yeah.
April 2010, where were you? Nikita,
I was.
what happened?
I was sitting in my office, and Nakika was a joint venture between BP and Shell,
That's right.
and
There was another
subs
rig on that.
the subsea supervisor. There wasn't a rig on Nakika. We were strictly production.
Yeah, I know.
So we had a subsea supervisor who was a Shell employee that was on the leadership floor, the floor that I was on. And he came into my office. I was on the computer banging out stuff, getting ready for the next morning safety meeting. He comes in about 10:50. I can't remember what time. It was late. I should have been asleep.
Yep.
And he said, Robbie, come to the control room. He said, the horizon's on fire to our north, and they're abandoning platform. They're calling for an abandoned platform. So I go down to the control room, which is on the same level. All the leadership is on the control room floor. So we go in the control room, and we're listening to the radio. And I said, I gotta see this. I gotta lay eyes on this. So I throw on my hard hat and got clear safety glasses. And when I open the door to the living quarters, here's a tidbit of trivia for you on production platforms. All the living quarters, the doors open, you're facing south. The production unit's always on the north. The north side of the living quarters is always coated with fire resistance that it's a safe haven for us in the event our production area catches fire. But when I walked out the south side of the platform, now mind you, I'm on a platform. I've got building on both sides of me, but I noticed this weird orange glow in the sky, and this is from a rig that is, I think it was 9 miles to our north.
I think 12 for some reason, but 9 maybe, yeah.
Okay, but I mean, I had this real funky glow. And when I got to turn to go towards the north side of the platform, I saw the fireball. And it was, I go up to the north, and I'm sitting there staring at it, dumbfounded. I'm looking at this thing like a monkey staring at a math problem. And then I said, you dumbass, they're fixing to send all the patients to you. Because we were the closest big facility. So I'm HSSE at this point, Health, Safety, Security, Environmental. I've let my registry go. Mike Jones, I already said his name. He was the medic that was on that platform that night. And I said, they're fixing to send all the patients here. So I went and I found Mike, and I told him, I said, dude, I said, our sick bay's not big enough for what's coming. So we got a bunch of hands, and we carried everything from the sick bay down to the TV room. And I said, look, I'll triage for you. I said, I'm a medic. He knows I'm a medic. So we said, okay, we're going to put our criticals in this section. The TV room, we had a partition. We could close the door, and people couldn't see what's on the other side. We had our people that needed treatment but were walking wounded, minor injuries. We kept over on this side of the TV room. The criticals we had over on the other side. And I said, we got to be ready for black and yellow prime too. So I said, if we have any of that, I'll just put them in the SCBA room, which was off around the corner. Thankfully, we didn't have anybody that fit in that category. But the U.S. Coast Guard was dropping rescue baskets in the water when they saw people, rescue diver going in with them, getting the patients loaded in the basket, getting them hoisted up, and when they got them in the chopper, they were nose down, flying straight to our facility, dropping them off, and we had a chain of people. Everybody on that facility came around that night. We had people carrying patients, bringing them to us, getting them to me, saying, "All right, this put this guy over here. He's going red. This guy's going yellow." We were separating them out, and we were up all night. And the guys that stepped up and were doing the helicopter landing, I mean, it was, here comes a Coast Guard chopper. Okay, we got an air ambulance coming to pick somebody up. So the medics getting everybody prepped, ready to go in. So, but you've got all these helicopters coming in. It's like you need an air traffic controller. And I talked to our OIM that night, Paul Durf. I'm not going to say his last name. And I told him, I said, look, I need all the fluids we can get from another platform. So other platforms were sending us their extra IV fluids, their extra stuff. They were sending us stuff to be able to treat all this. And we got through with the last patient, flew off of our facility at like 6:45 in the morning. We had been up all night, all the day before, and all this.
What y'all have, 17 or 27?
No, I think we ended up. I thought we ended up with 13, but Mike says I think it was 11. But we ended up with some criticals, and one guy that was critical. When they picked him up and they put him in one of those Stokes wire metal baskets. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy had burns all over his back.
And you told me about him.
And he was stuck.
He was stuck
in that basket.
Yeah,
he was stuck in that basket. Yeah, that was a tough night. Now that happened in 2010, so they knew a little something about critic stress debrief, and they were asking,
Right.
"Hey, do we need to send out folks to talk?" And of course, me and Mike, being old school medics, "Oh no, we're fine. We got this." Yeah.
But Robbie, I talked to you. Your hitch was over like 3 days later, I think.
Yeah.
And the day, for some reason, I called you on that BP fiber and said, "Are you okay?" And that was when you just relayed the story you just told. You told me the day you were fixing to get on a helicopter and fly home.
Yeah.
Yep. Off from the kicker.
Yeah.
I didn't kick you in your nuts right there, but I figured that'd be a good way to take this day and take the fun.
Wrap up the show.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, it's life ain't easy. You know what? The people that give two shits about what they do what you just did.
That's right.
And move on.
Move on.
Well, look, we can't ignore the fact that Sandi is actually in here with us. We've been, yeah. I don't see a video of her, but I see that she's here. Sandi, are you there?
I can barely hear y'all.
All right, and you're on your computer? I swear, I think Mike is right. You need a hearing aid, Sandi.
Hearing aid, Sandi.
I'm not talking to you.
Oh, Lord. Sandi,
man, we can all tell bullshit for days, but that story that you just gave, Bud, you better bring something deep if you want to keep up with Rob on that.
That's pretty deep right there, my friend.
That is the most selfless. I'm gonna help people story you probably gonna hear out of this entire program we're doing, Rob. Thank you. We love you, brother.
Yep. We got some. Yep. That was good in there. Yep. A lot of them guys owes their life probably to y'all, you and the other medic, and I'm sure they was very my deal is when guys would work something not similar to that. That's what I would tell them. Look, even if they passed, you did the very best you could do. You
Yeah.
was there for them doing the. You was their only hope that they had, and you did the very best that you could to
Mike did.
satisfy that hope.
Mike did. Mike did. I
Hey, Rob,
triaged.
I guarantee you had your hands up that cat ass trying to take care of people. So don't say Mike
Yeah.
did it, but Robbie was there.
Right. Well, and that runs in all of our professions. We none of us will take credit without putting all our guys into that spot. Because look, you're only as good a leader or a firefighter or a medic or whoever. You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with.
100%.
You surround yourself with people that don't care. That's what you're gonna have.
Why do you think I've got you three here on this show?
You're digging deep in the barrel, brother. On my part.
Scraping,
Oh,
scraping
Lord.
Rob, you scraping Rob.
But I learned that young in my career. Them old battalion chiefs, they would surround themselves with the top guys that I ain't saying maybe makes 100 on the exams, but they've surrounded themselves with guys that cared and it took pride in the department and it took pride in where the department was headed and our shift and took pride in helping other people and making sure that the shift was good to go, and that's in anywhere though. You got to surround anything in life. You think about it, you got to surround yourself with good people. Even marriage, that's how I teach my baby, look, the best way to get out of a bad marriage is don't get in it.
Yeah. Well,
Find
I
you
tell you
somebody.
what. I,
Rob, don't
I've,
say nothing, just be quiet.
I've been in 3 of them, and let me tell you something. Do you know why divorces are so damn expensive? Because
Why's
they're
that,
damn
bud?
well worth it.
Hey, Lord.
Hey, on
But
a happier note right now,
there you go.
you done been divorced 3 times, Bud. I don't know how long you've been married, Sandy. I don't even know what the hell you're doing right now, but I will tell you that as of right now, I have been married 36 years to the
That's
same.
right. It's happy anniversary to Mike and Lori. I
Hey,
can't
there you
believe
go.
you're on this podcast on tax day, which happens to be your anniversary. But thank you, brother, for coming on.
It is honestly, it's been 36 years of there ain't nothing easy about it.
Nope.
And it's just like the
But
EMS, huh?
anything worth having is worth working for. And when
Yeah,
I see you and Lori together, I've got a picture of you two hugging and looking at a band. And we
I,
haven't even touched on it yet.
but it's on my camera, it's on my little our photo screen. But what I was going to say is, it is not what they say. Reward of it is the road has never been smooth. It's just you got to get across the bumps,
Yep.
and people just give up. That oh shit, Robbie. I'm not trying to slap you in the face or give you a case of VD, but it you gotta fight it. I mean, you probably could have made number one. No, you couldn't have made number one work.
No.
But at the end of the
I
day,
might could have made number 2 work.
that's what I was gonna say. But it all boils down to what you dedicate, and your marriage is a career, your job is a career, your
Mm-hmm.
friends are careers.
Well,
And I think we all understand. Hey, Sandy, at least we got a picture of the lighthouse now.
Yeah, there you go.
We're getting halfway to 6 Sandy right here today.
And get me on there.
We gotta have you on there. This doesn't make any sense. You know,
I
we're gonna
know.
let. Do you have a camera on that computer?
Yes, and it's all lit up.
Well, turn that some bitch on.
Um,
You ain't going to bed until you're on the screen, baby. So you
Say-
need to.
Sandy, I promise you what we're gonna do. This is 2 podcasts in a row that we've had technical difficulties. I'm going when we aren't doing the podcast, I'm going to get with you and we're going to
Yes.
work through this problem.
Yes.
And so get ready. You got to come back on next Tuesday because
Sandy, where
Huh?
you?
Van Cleve.
Van Cleve.
And you and Gwen both y'all up there, and freaking nobody helped me in Van Cleveville. I don't know if I can get the Van Cleve to help. Maybe Rob can get you on.
We're gonna get you took care of, Sandy. But Mike, you know, it truly is Mike's anniversary, and he said he had about 20 minutes. Mike, where are you at on your time?
I'm overdue, but I just heard
Out.
the curtain in the bedroom, so I think.
Happy anniversary, Mike.
Thanks, Sandy.
So we are going to close this out again. Anybody that wants us to talk about, if you've got something you think that's worth hearing and you want us to read it and talk about it, we'll certainly have a panel of people that will give our opinions. We all have our opinions and we'll all pretty much share them with you. You can email us again at gettin108 at gmail.com. Gettin108 at gmail.com. And y'all are seeing that.
Gettin, Gettin 10 8.
10-8. Yep.
Holy,
Hey, there's Sandy.
holy shit.
Just as we're leaving. Perfect timing, Sandy.
Who is
Hey,
Gettin
Sophie.
Sophie. All right.
Got to change that address.
Change that address.
Yeah, I don't. The Z-mail and the dash and all that crap. Sandy, help me here.
No. It's good. Look, it came across the damn it came across the screen. They all saw it. You didn't see it, but they saw it. I promise you. And they can figure it out. And it's up there long enough for them to scribble it down.
All right.
Hey, Sandy.
welcome to the party.
Say what?
Welcome to the party.
Thank you, honey.
Hey, y'all know what? I'm going to leave y'all on a good note. You know what I miss?
What?
What's it?
Breakfast Club and Elsie showing her titties.
Snowden's.
Yes.
Snowden's.
Elsie, we love you. We miss you. Gosh damn it.
Elsie, God rest her soul, she has gone on to meet her maker, to her reward, but she was a saint. She was a saint just like Sandy is.
Whoa.
Sandy's a saint.
That wasn't
Don't
no
you say any
saint.
different, I'll fight you.
I mean, saints, what are 12? She was the 15th.
Oh no, there's way more saints than that. Hell, disciples, yeah, there was 12 disciples. Hell, he even brought tax collectors in to be a disciple. So
Hey, I have a picture of the Last Supper with crawfish on it.
there you go.
Elsie and her tits out with crawfish.
Lord have mercy.
I know this is a little off the board, but we used to have what we called Breakfast Club, and my dad had a boat at the Broadwater.
Yep.
And for some reason, it'd be July, and all the guys are around with their shirts off, and Elsie's like, "That's bullshit."
Thanks, Elsie.
Oh no.
See that?
Oh no. I got some good ones. Trust me.
Hey,
When I first started working on the ambulance, no women were just obscene on the trucks.
yep.
And
No.
I
Not-
first went
no.
when I first went to Mobile Medic. There were two guys there. They were Cajuns, and they were definitely against women on the trucks.
I'll see you
Here
here.
I was, little bitty tiny Sandy, and walking around in my shorts and my t-shirt at night because I just jumped in a jumpsuit. Well, these two idiots decided they were going to walk around in their BVDs and their t-shirts. And so they said something to me about, you need to watch what you wear around here. And I said, hey, man, I won't laugh at yours if you don't laugh at me. And they were like, they never bugged me again.
We talking about Saucy, Abshire, Camaro. Who are we talking about?
No, these were two guys from Louisiana. One was named Larry Miette. It was when I first went there in 1977.
Now, real quick, Sandy, so folks understand this, because I had a question about it. Sandy, you were a medic before the National Registry was a thing. How did you get called a medic when you first started? If they didn't have the National Registry, how did you become a medic?
I just moved back to Mississippi from Florida. I was 15 years old. And I walked next door to what used to be Lammy's Meat Market, which was now Guff Ambulance. And we had just taken it over from Bradford O'Keefe.
Yeah, okay.
And I walked in there and I said, hello, hello. And no one answered me. And suddenly this tall, slender, bearded man comes walking out and he goes, can I help you? And I said, yes, I'm looking for my cousin. And I told him his name. He says, well, they're on a call right now. He says, are you going to wait here for Sean? And I said, yeah. And he said, want to do me a favor? And I said, sure. And he goes, that telephone, when it rings, you pick it up and you say, Guff Ambulance. And I said, okay. He says, this is the radio. And it was a mic on the table. He says, you push it down to talk and you talk to us and then let go and we'll talk back to you. And I said, okay. He says, make sure you get a good address, find out what's wrong and the phone number. And I said, okay. Well,
welcome to your in-service
EMS. I became a dispatcher at the age of 15. I loved it. And you know Tommy Newman, old Tommy Newman?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they used to go to Mobile all the time for Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
Well, I was their babysitter. Guess who ran the ambulance service on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays during Mardi Gras?
You did.
Me.
So, wait a minute. So you went and babysat Donnie and Ronnie and them in Mobile, or you babysat
No,
Big Tommy?
not Donnie and Ronnie.
So
It was
Jeremiah and Tom?
Casey and Tom and Jeremiah.
Holy shit! So Sandy,
I worked with little Tom on the ambulance when he was 18.
this is the craziest shit in the world, and I'm sorry, guys. So is Brian and Matthew? Are y'all related? Do they?
By marriage. By marriage only.
Well, look, I just finished building Jeremiah's boathouse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
His son, he was born 2 months before my son was. So they're both the same age. I think they just made 52 or 54, something like that.
And then Tom, and I'll be damn, small world. I didn't know that whole story. Now, I remember that was on Howard Avenue on the Loop where you went to Gulf Funeral Home, right by where Torricelli's
We
is.
used to be on Raynar Street, and then we went to Triple C Dude Ranch, which was Coast Convalescent Center behind the old Biloxi Hospital. And then we went to Howard Avenue when we became AmServe.
Well, that's where
Which is now a museum, Sandy.
Yes, it is. My daddy used to work at that fire station, and I went to school at Lopez across the street.
I got
But,
you.
Cool.
I could tell you more stories than you want to hear, but I know you want to go for your anniversary. So hopefully Robbie and I'll get this worked out. So
hey, you got it worked out.
Yep.
No, I can't get my picture on the screen.
Oh,
Bud, it was nice meeting you. I've listened to y'all and everything, but I just haven't been able to communicate.
Hey, do you want to, because of the last episode, we kind of picked on you a little bit, or was it true when I said I think Sandy just got the ass and said to hell with us?
No, my phone died. It was being a bitch. True.
We can say bitch on this screen.
Yes, we can.
Bud may not.
Guys, I'm fixing out to check out.
All right,
Mr.
Bud.
It was nice meeting you.
Nice to meet y'all. Mike,
all right, let me do this outro real quick.
Do what, Bud?
Don't forget to look me up on Facebook when you
do it as soon as I get off the phone, Bud.
All right, look me up. We got the
just look on my friends list. Pictures. Look on my friends list. Y'all can all find each other. Y'all are all my friends on Facebook.
On that freaking Facebook without you, Robbie.
All
I
right,
saw your post the other day, Mike, about the thing you're going to have.
Yes, Sandy, please come. And Robbie, we're gonna talk on that here soon. But Sandy, please help me promote that. We're gonna raise
next
20,000 this
next
year.
I'm going to try.
next
I have to
episode,
do a
Mike.
CISM tomorrow.
Okay.
Next episode, Mike. I promise. All right, but let me get an outro done, and we'll all say goodbye. I'll chop out a lot of this. All right. So, all right, everybody. That's been the show for tonight. Glad that Sandy finally made it here at the very end. Better late than never, Sandy.
Hey, my sister says I'll be late for my own funeral.
Hey, that's a good thing to be late for, actually. And look, so thanks for joining us. We're going to have to do this again. You're going to have to come back on because we missed the story. We touched on it a little bit, how you got started. I can't believe your orientation when you were 15. Push that button right there and you could talk to us.
We learned American Red Cross. They taught us American Red Cross. We made our own equipment. We were certified like that, and I finally took the EMT course the first time it was on the coast in 1971.
Yep.
Damn.
All right. So, thank you again for coming on, Sandy. Better late than never. We're going to have to finish this conversation because you've got a lot more you can tell us. Bud, thanks again for coming on. Always enjoy getting your insights. And Mike, I couldn't ask for a better comic relief than you right here on the show with your smart acidness, as you said you were famous for in the last episode. So, folks, if you like this episode, be sure to bookmark us. Come back again. Give us a thumbs up. If you've made it this far in the video, we appreciate y'all staying. And again, here comes that email.
Ooh, you're
Gettin10@gmail.com. Send us a message. We'll talk to you. I promise. Y'all take care. Have a great day.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Bye,
night.
y'all.
Good night.